So I'm going to start because I think if more people is connecting, they could catch up later. So good morning to everyone. Good morning for this workshop of October 16. Today we have the workshop of Industrial Symbiosis Stakeholder Engagement, and I have the pleasure to have today three speakers: Apostolos Michopoulos, Gamze Nur Mujdeci, and Katarina Vitali. So first of all, before starting, let's say I'm going to present you a little bit their topic that they are going to talk. Is the first two ones will be related to a stakeholder, the second one about the mapping of a stakeholder, and the second one about identification methods of a stakeholder. Later on, we will have a presentation about local production system in Slovakia with the feature of industrial symbiosis. And specifically, we are going to focus on the cooperation with the local. As always, you know that this session is recording because we are going to upload to our YouTube channel, but even you couldn't speak directly, there is this Q and answer box when you could put there any kind of question for the three speakers. So at any time, we will try to solve your question, your doubt, or any kind of issue that you have. As always, also the presentation will be shared. Before starting and give the floor to them, I'm going to present the three speakers. We will start with Dr. Apostolos Michopoulos. He has a diploma and PhD in mechanical engineering from the University of Thessaloniki. And also he has a project management by the Open Hellenic University. He's senior researcher in the University of Cyprus, currently in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. But apart from that, he worked also as a leader training in different technical seminars. He's also advisory services. He provides advisory service for energy planning consultant to government companies and different organizations. And in general, in the last 25 years, he has participated in several research projects and grants, around 50. They have also published in different articles, scientific and technical, also in book chapters. And also he's elected a member of American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineering. So he will be our first speaker, and later on we will move forward. Gamze Nur Mujdeci, he's assistant professor in Turkey in the University of Kittit, concretely in the Faculty of Engineering, Department of Food Engineering. She has received her baccalaureate, PhD degree in food engineering in another university in Hasbet, and she's specialized in microbial biotechnology and fermentation processes. She is also contribute to different national and international research projects, especially in the focus on microbial biopolymer, melanin synthesis, and food microbiology. But also she has several experience in circular bioeconomy, in sustainability, and also in industrial symbiosis. She has served also as a principal investigator on TUBITAC and university supporting project. And also she has working with different international institutions such as the Spanish University of Castilla-La Mancha. And finally, our third speaker will be Katarina Vitali. She's associate professor and head of the Department of Public Economy and Regional Development at the Faculty of Economics in the University of Magdeburg. Her research is focused on public and local governance, as we will see later on, but also in stakeholder partnership and in strategic territorial development. She's author of more than 150 scientific work. She presents international, but also she's also on the research project, on the participation in research project at national and international level in different calls like FP7, Horizon, or Erasmus. She collaborated actively with local and regional government and served on scientific board and editorial members. So we have these three quite experienced and important speaker today for this presentation related to stakeholder engagement, local participation, etc. So I'm going to stop here my presentation and I will leave the floor to Apostolos. So the floor is yours. I think that you could share your screen.
Thank you, Modena. I suppose that you can hearing to me. Oh, I think we are in the last slide of the presentation.
You are start for the last, yeah.
Yeah, I start from the last slide.
Good
Okay.
approach.
Yeah, it's a new approach, of course, Modena. Okay. Now I think that we can see the first slide. Thank you again, Modena. Thank you again all for being with us today with this interesting webinar about the stakeholders engagement. I'm going to give you a brief introduction about the topic of the stakeholders mapping. In general, my presentation is divided in two parts. In the first part, we have to discuss and understand why we need to involve stakeholders in a specific project process or something like that. What is the stakeholder management and how we can do the stakeholder network analysis. In the second part, I'm going to speak about three specific and fundamental tools, I can say, that we use on stakeholders mapping. The first one is the relevant map canvas. The second one is the interest map canvas, and the last one is the relevance, interest, and expertise canvas. In many projects, we need to involve stakeholders. And the question which arises is why we need to involve stakeholders and to take their options or their needs or their expertise or their needs in the project. This has to do because by involving stakeholders in a project, we can get several benefits. For example, we can enrich the knowledge, the expertise, and the perspectives around the table, and this maximizes the possibilities of to have a successful project or a successful outcome. We reduce the number and the severity of conflicts between the different involved or affected parts. We dismiss the chances for absent stakeholders to spoil the process. We build a sense of ownership and belonging to the projects, to the objectives, to the solutions proposed, and even to the network of the stakeholders. And the outcome of this project or from this process are more accepted and tend to be more sustainable. And last but not least, I can say due to the multiplier effect of the network, the outcomes can be easily trigger system changes. What is stakeholder management? The stakeholder management is a process that is made up of two phases with different steps in each. The first phase is the stakeholder network analysis. In this phase, we aim to understand the network before we working with this. This has to understand with the component of the network, for example, with the stakeholders, to understand their behaviors, their relationship, and how the network can be performed overall. The second phase has to do with the stakeholder network engagement, which is also the topic of our webinar today. This is a process of carrying out the engagement itself with advanced activities involve stakeholders throughout the whole process of transition. And then let's see how we can work and analyze the stakeholder network. I have to admit that working with stakeholders is probably one of the commonalities in systemic projects and one of the first conditions. In general, the work with stakeholders is divided or included in general three independent steps. The first step is the identification. Here we have to identify the stakeholders. The second step is the understanding. I can say general the characterization. Understanding means to understand the needs, the expectations, the prospects of this process or of the project and so on. And the last step has to do with the analysis of the network. From this step, we can extract meaningful ideas or relationships between different stakeholders and how they can affect the whole system. Depending on the time availability that we have about the identification, the understanding, and the analysis of the network, we are able to use specific tools that are available for each category. And the last three tools that we are going to discuss today is some fundamental tools that we can use in this process. Let's go deeper to say some more things about how we can analyze a network of the stakeholders. We mentioned previously that the first step is the identification of the stakeholders. In this step, we need to identify who will take part in this analysis. And we have to think about some specific characteristics. The first characteristic is the closeness of the stakeholder to the project. The first characteristic is the interest that the stakeholder has in this specific project area, system, etc. The relevance, for example, and etc. In this stage, I can say that a stakeholder can be either a person or an institution, and although major representative of different sectoral categories should be on board, this step has to be as broader as possible. The second step is the understanding. Here we need to gain a deeper understanding of the stakeholders. It's the time to know what is their expectations, their explicit and implicit assumption, what worries them, for example, what keeps them awake at the night, their drivers, their knowledge, their resources, etc. This step is largely used in design as a key part of the service or product or a system. And in socio-technical transition, this step is aimed to categorize stakeholders according to their own futures, their influence of the innovation process, and so on. The last step is the analysis of the network. I can say that this is the more comprehensive step in which we have to analyze and characterize a stakeholder network. I'm going to give you an example in the last slide of this presentation. The goal of this step is to analyze the role of different stakeholders within the network and how those roles affect the way of the network performs. As a result of the relationships between stakeholders, a specific network emerges along with new behaviors and trends. This analysis comprises also quantitative and qualitative approach to unfold the information underlying the network. Now it's the time to move to the second part of the presentation, which has to do with specific tools that we use in order to map the stakeholder. The first is the relevance map canvas. We can see the matrix, the canvas, in the right side of this slide. Actually, this canvas has two axes, the horizontal one and the vertical. In the horizontal axis, we have the influence or the power that the stakeholder has. What is the influence? I can say that the influence is the ability of the stakeholder to influence, modify, or drive the tertiary symbiosis, for example, scheme or other stakeholders. In some contexts, this influence can come from their potential to impact on current regime if adopting smart changes. And in order to be able to classify the stakeholders related to their influence in a scale from example 0 to 10 or in a scale from negative or less influence to higher one, we have to think and answer this question here. How much can they influence other stakeholders or even the process industrial symbiosis, for example, itself? The vertical axis has to do about the necessity of the stakeholder. And in order to identify again and classify the necessity of the stakeholder, we have somehow to answer the questions that is written here. Is the stakeholder someone who can retail or delegitimize the project, the process, the industrial symbiosis, for example, if they were not included in the engagement? The next tool has to do with the interest map canvas. More or less, the matrix, the canvas are similar to the previous one. Again, in the horizontal axis, we have the influence. We use the same approach to identify the influence that the stakeholder has. But now, in the vertical axis, we have the interest of the stakeholder itself. And in order to identify the interest from a scale 0 to 10 again, or for positive to negative 1, for low or high, it depends on our approach. We have to answer some questions. I wrote one that is more specific in this time. How willing is the stakeholder to engage? Does the stakeholder have large or small interest in, for example, the process, the project in the industrial symbiosis schema in general? What is their level of engagement, involvement, closeness, or even commitment? And then we can identify and classify the stakeholder based on its interest. The last tool that I'm going to present is about the relevance, the interest, and the expertise canvas. We can see again the matrix here. This is a threefold criteria map, and those is a bit more complicated than the previous maps. In order to work with this canvas, we have first to complete the relevance and the interest maps that we saw later on, and then we can classify the stakeholders in this map. From the relevance and interest maps, we have to pick out the stakeholders with medium or high classification, for example, and then use them to map the expertise, the relevant matrix. The expertise that is included in this matrix is in different plot size. For example, the higher expertise that the stakeholder has, the biggest plot we use to express it in this canvas, to indicate this in this canvas. And then after fulfill this matrix, this canvas, we are able to go to the next step, which is the analysis of the network. More or less is the similar with all maps, with all canvases, and with all matrix. Due to the fact that we don't have enough time today, I'm going to show you only this process in the last canvas. Here, for example, we have a canvas that we have indicate some stakeholders related to the relevance and the interest, and also to the expertise. For example, in this canvas, we can see 4 specific areas. For example, this area over there, I mean the right upper side area in the canvas, indicates stakeholders with high interest and high relevance. And this is categorized as the key actors, the key stakeholders that we need in our project, in our problem, in our approach. For example, if we are going to the downsize right part of this canvas, this indicates stakeholders with high relevance but low or negative interest, for example, and this indicates stakeholders that are here just to meet their needs, their expectations. Similarly, if we are going to the left part of this canvas, we can see this area here that indicates some stakeholders that has high interest but low relevance. We have to take into consideration these stakeholders in our analysis, while in the last part of this canvas, we see stakeholders with less relevance or negative relevance, interest, and so on. This is the less important stakeholders in our project. Sometimes we have to think to exclude them from the further step of analysis and engagement, but in any case, we need to have in mind that this is a dynamic system. And if we, for example, change some parameters or some assumptions, or the conditions of the systems in generally change, The stakeholders can move from one side to the other side to the other part of this canvas. That means that the stakeholders with less or negative interest can go to the upper side of the canvas, and then it can be somehow a stakeholder with a higher interest and a higher expertise, because it's a dynamic process, and we have to keep in mind this when we are able to design the further steps about the stakeholders engagement. That's from my side. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm staying there for questions if there are later on.
Thank you so much, Apostolos. Thank you so much for your presentation. There is a question now, but I think that I'm going to wait until the other two presentations and we will come back in the Q and answer section. So now I will give the floor for Gamze. If you could share your screen, please. Yeah, you could start.
Yeah, hello everybody, and thanks Almudena for this opportunity and inviting me to this webinar. I'm really happy to see you all here now, and my presentation is about the identification tools of stakeholder and these methods and so on. Dr. Apostolos already mentioned about how important the identification of stakeholders, but I want to first say that it's also really important to determine the boundaries of the system, first of all, before the identification. The system can be just a working package, or can be the whole project or the whole activities of the company. And then the identification of stakeholders starts with the categorization. But I changed the slides, but maybe you don't see here. Yeah, now you see here. Actually, expert people give a suggestion that the listing of the stakeholders should be start with the individually, not to affect each other, and continue in group studies. And there are many questions to determine the stakeholders, and we need to make a brainstorming about it. You can see some questions on the screen that can be who could be a barrier, who may object, who has knowledge, and who has problem solving abilities, and so on. We can increase these questions. And after all, making a whole list of stakeholders is not enough to identify them. First of all, we should classify, categorize them, and there are many categorization methods and approach that many studies have been conducted about it. You can see on the table that, for instance, Cardona and his friends did it like business stakeholders, the regulatory stakeholders, environmental stakeholders, but mostly the stakeholders are classified as internal and external. Internal stakeholders are inside the system that affects the outcomes and also affected from the outcomes, and external are outside the system, and still they affect the project or the outcomes. After that, after this categorization, there are also many identification tools that Dr. Apostolos also mentioned about some canvas method, some mapping method, and power interest metrics and salience model, stakeholder mapping, and power predictability metrics are most used of them. And power interest matrix is also known as Mendelow's matrix. There are two dimensions here. One is the power and another is the interest. And power means that the stakeholders' ability to influence the decisions, outcomes, or the direction of your project. And interest means their level of concern, involvement, or the willingness to engage with the project. And the idea is really easy here, that if the stakeholder has high power and high interest, then we should manage closely. But if the stakeholder has low power and low interest, then we don't need to effort too much, just we need to monitor these stakeholders. And the other method is, or the other matrix is power predictability matrix. This is also used for the risk analysis, whether stakeholders have the means to do so, and the future likely impact the stakeholders' expectation on the project. If the stakeholder has high power and high predictability, we can say that there is no there isn't too much risk, because we can it is predictable, but has a power, so we need to manage them closely. But there is a danger if the stakeholder has high power but low predictability, then there is a risk because we can't see the effect of it in the future. The salience model is another way that we can use for identification. There is three attributes here. We have already identified what the power means, and there are also legitimacy and urgency side of this identification. This legitimacy means that the stakeholders' rightful involvement based on legal, moral, contractual, or the societal grounds, and the urgency means how time sensitive or crucial their demands are. And if the stakeholder has power, urgency, and legitimacy, then that means that these stakeholders are key stakeholders, and we need to manage them very closely. If the stakeholder has power but don't have the urgency and legitimacy, then this is inactive stakeholders, so we can categorize them as a dormant. And if the stakeholder has power and legitimacy, then these are also key stakeholders who strongly influence the project direction. So in that model, there is a detailed analysis, and there are 7 categories of stakeholders. And lastly, I will mention about the onion stakeholder mapping. The onion model is a visual tool that shows how close different stakeholders are to the core of the project, and based on their involvement, influence, and interaction level. It's called onion because you can see that the layers, and this layer gives us the answer of who is the directly involved, who influences from the outside, and who is affected but not engaged. So this is also the visual showing the stakeholders effect. If I summarize overall, in the beginning of the project or early project planning, we can use Mendelow's method. This is a basic communication strategy, and if we want to do the salience model, then we will give detailed stakeholder analysis, and it gives us a strategic prioritization, and this is much more complex but also subjective model. Onion model is for only for the presentation or visual stakeholder mapping, and this model doesn't show influence or power explicitly. And power predictable matrix is gives us medium and high judgment, and also give us the risks of the stakeholders, and requires predicting future behavior. And thank you so much for listening me, and I'm very happy to answer your questions.
Thank you so much, Gamze, for your presentation.
You're welcome.
We will wait for the question at the end. So let's go for the third presentation, that is for Katarina, related to the local production example in Slovakia. So Katarina, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, are you able to see the presentation?
Not yet.
Katerina is muted.
Yeah. Katarina, are you there?
Something has happened and I didn't hear you.
I don't know what happened, but
You are able to hear me?
yes. Could you hear me?
Maybe wait for a second. I try to. Okay.
Are you there? Katarina?
Can you say something?
Okay, guys, we are experiencing some technical problems with Katarina. I don't know why she's trying to reconnect again. So I think that by that time that she could, let's say, arrange everything, what I'm going to do is to proceed with the question that they are for Apostolos. Apostolos, the question came from Anna. She say, can you please give me some hints on how to qualify relevance and interest for the stakeholder? Which are the key indicators to take into account? How to be sure about this as it is might be a subjective choice?
Yeah. That's very nice questions from Anna. Let's start with the first one. How we can qualify the relevance and the interest. Actually, there are two different approaches. If we try to have a qualitative approach of this, I had to use our experience and say, for example, I have these stakeholders involved in this kind of project. How relevant is this? How is their interest about the projects? And we qualify them based on our experience, or based on the experience of the team that make the analysis. Obviously, in this approach, the results are, of course, somehow subjective, as Anna mentioned in her last questions. But as far as I know, there are some methods applied mainly in social scientists, from social scientists, that can measure the relevance and the interest of the stakeholders by applying these specific methodologies. I'm not familiar with those methodologies, but at least I know that there exist. I worked in some projects many years ago with some social scientists, and based on some questionnaire surveys and analysis in the field, in the area that they made, they gave us some indicators in this time, quantitative indicators about the relevance and the interest of the stakeholders. In this case, I have to say that this is a much more objective approach to identify the relevance and the interest of the stakeholders. And the key, then the last question, the middle question, is about the key indicators to take into consideration. I don't have to identify some specific key indicators. I just have to say that it depends on the project, and more or less the Gamze gave us a good approach regarding the key indicators. And the good approach is how we can consider if this stakeholder is relevant or less relevant to these approaches, someone that can have interest on this project or on this area, even though they try to say by itself that I have somehow some influence on this part. That's for the answer of this question. I don't know if I met the expectations of Anna.
Probably yes, because you answered properly. Yes, she said yes for sure.
Okay, thank you, Anna.
Thank you so much, Apostolos, and also Anna for the question. Katarina, I think you are back.
Yes, I'm back, but I am not sure if it will work when I will share the screen.
Now we are listening you better and we are seeing you, so probably yes. If you could try to share your screen.
Okay, I will try, and we will see. Are you able to see something?
The screen say that you are.
Yeah, there's some problem still low on memory. Please rejoin again. Or maybe Almudena, can you share the presentation and I will just speak?
I'm going to do like this.
I don't know.
Don't worry at all. Let me 1 second. I think now you are seeing in full screen, so if you agree, I put you the first one and you just send it to me next and next.
Yeah. Thank you very much for the help. So hello everybody, I'm also very happy that I can share our experience with the cooperation with stakeholders within some territories in Slovakia. And we identify them as a form of industrial symbiosis. Maybe the first of all, you can move. First of all, I can say that the term of industrial symbiosis is not very common in Slovakia. When you see some strategical documents, there is no mention this term. More is about the circular economy, nowadays more about the bioeconomy, but generally the industrial symbiosis is not recognized. And also that's why we try to organize some seminar in Slovakia at the end of December, during the December, also with the support of course. So, because we are the regionalists, and I'm personally, and we are dealing quite long time with the different kinds of local production systems. And based on our experience, we are able to identify some examples which are very similar to industrial symbiosis. I am not totally sure if they are, but I think they have like these main features that we can say that some of them are industrial symbiosis implemented. So for today, I chose the example which is close to our city in the central of Slovakia. And it is the local production system in a smaller city, Detva. It is a district with 30,000 inhabitants. And you can see that it is really in the middle of Slovakia, and it is a district city, and it closely cooperate also with the small villages around this bigger city. You can move on. Please. Okay, thank you. So you can see that this part of Slovakia is quite a rural area. There is a very long tradition in agriculture industry, especially the animals feeding and also the planting different kinds of food, food or plants. It is also very significant region also for Slovakia for quite great history and tradition. And also the production of local products has a quite long history. And this area is also very famous for, in Slovakia for these like a traditional cheese products, or you can see the wooden cross. This is also something like specific just for this area. But because there is a very rare settlement, it is really like a main area on which the area's focus is agriculture. And this is also the source of problems nowadays, because agriculture is not anymore so much interesting for young people. And a lot of young people leave this territory. There is the prevalence of silver population, older people. And what is also a problem that this territory was very specific for the traditional crafts which were developed here. And nowadays, these young people don't want to be the craftsmen. They don't want to usually study these crafts which are based on the physical activities. So also this traditional way of agriculture or traditional crafts are not so much developed. But still in this territory, there are some companies which try to solve the problem and also support the implementation these traditional approaches to the development. So we can move on the next slide. That like a key actor for the selected examples of industrial symbiosis is a agriculture company. The name is Agrosavdetva, and it's a private company in Slovakia, generally in the Central Europe and also Eastern European countries. Until the 1989, there was a lot of cooperative sites oriented on agriculture, and also this company tried to preserve the cooperative side and to develop the activities from the previous period. And they developed also this company to the limited liability company. Like the main object of the activities is the crop production, and you can see the cattle of sheep breeding, and also some other animals already. And because they were like something like a main actor in the territory with the bigger capital, they start to cooperate also with the smaller cooperative sites around in the close municipalities. And they share together their technologies and also the equipment. And as a next step, then they try to find some new solution how to use the waste from the agriculture production. So they build the new premises. They start to be used like a biogas plant, and also they you equip them with the machines for the biomass processing. You can see the expansions include another 4 places. They are really like smaller villages close to Detva. So they try to be also the effective by the transportation costs. And then they developed and they start to cooperate with the local milk dairy. The name is Koliba. And like last steps, which was developed, is the wellness resort, which was built in this territory, and they really closely cooperate also with them. They're providing them the the food production, but also they cooperate in using the animals in a zoo, and also for some lecturing, for example, like horses riding. So this is the main actor. By the agriculture production, we can move. The main is they have like quite great land, and they try to use and improve also the mechanism and machines that are used. So they use quite new technologies, like main crops. You can see that's wheat, barley, oats, and the rest of or the waste is usually used in this biogas plant. From the animal production, it is usually the cows and sheep. And like I said, they cooperate with the local farms, also close to the Getva in these smaller villages in radius of 35 kilometers. From the waste from this agriculture production, the waste is used in a biogas plant, which is closely localized close to the city Getva. We can move by the slides, and in these biogas plants, like the main source or main output is the production of electricity, and this electricity is used for heating for the houses in the local city Getva. So they cooperate also with the local municipality, and the rest of the production of the biogas plants is used like a fertilizer for the agriculture. And already they have like one main plant. It's in Getva, and another two. There are built smaller branches in small villages in Žalobuza and Dubravi. And like a second part of this using the waste from the production, it is the processing the wood chips. It is a biomass processing that's also it is used for the processing the windfall trees on the land that is used, and they want to recultivate it, so they use it also for biomass processing. And it has also another point of use, or like how to say, the prevention. It is because there is also quite a big place where where is a food risk. It also helps to prevent these disasters. This is the biogas. Then, like next stakeholders for which they cooperate is a local milk dairy. And because there is quite a long tradition and they are already cooperate quite a long period, they also developed a new form of products. Because they started at first just with the cheese production. We have also in Slovakia some traditional fish, which is like quite popular in Slovakia, but they start to be more international now. They start to produce mozzarella. They start to produce different kinds of yogurts. What is very popular now is milk products with proteins, with some special like for sports activities and so on. So they also invest quite a lot of money into the technologies and the new processes. So they try to be modern, and they also get a lot of certificates for this production to have also the award for their quality. You can see here on the picture also some products which are in the label of the company. And like a last stakeholder, which is associated with this local producer system, is a wellness resort and restaurant resort. It's Masaryko Dvor. We can move. And this resort is like the common activities of not just Agrosel, but also the other local producers or local entrepreneurs. And they use the animals which are used within the Agrosel. Also, they establish their this like mini zoo. But there is also all the restaurants use just the local products, usually from these companies, from local producers, from the milk dairy. They have there also the local shop, which they provide or sell just the local products. They have also the special label for this territory, which they have. It's named the Podpolanie. And what more, they also have the, for example, new own brewery. There is quite a big wellness center. So they try to combine different kind of activities within this whole production system, and also to support the local producers. So we can move to the next slide, and here's some short visualization how they cooperate. So like the main is the production, animal and food production, agriculture company. They use the waste for the biogas. They also provide the heating for the local municipality. From the other side, the animal production or the food production is used in the for the local people. They can buy it like citizens here, but also it is used for the local restaurants. Like very closely connected is this resort with the name Masarykov Dvor. So to conclude, we can say that there is quite a specific network of stakeholders who cooperate, but very important is the impact of this local production system on the local community. It helps to increase the employment and also to preserve and somehow to develop also these traditional crafts in the territory, which was because the territory is very typical for this. They try to implement some kind of concept of a circular economy. Even they don't do it like a priority by these steps. I can say that it is kind of circular economy and also the industrial symbiosis. They try to improve the condition of living for the local people, especially with this providing heating, and also with the providing of the food or the production of local products. And they support the local food self-sufficiency, but also by this way they provide the support to local producers. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to answer your questions if you have some to this topic.
Almudena, you are mute.
Sorry. Thank you so much, Katarina, for your presentation. Quite interesting. And also, there is one question in the chat for you. How can these entities grant that the residues flow remain constant so that this does not affect the business on the one receiving the residues to be used as raw materials? Katarina, you are mute.
Sorry, I just read the question.
No question.
I think it's not how to say it. I think it is just on their cooperation. Usually, all these companies, they have kind of relations, even property, even they have like common. They use like common technologies, or how to say, they share them. They share the knowledge, but I'm not sure if they can grant somehow it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other question from the audience? I have a question for you, Katarina. You mentioned that, let's say, some of the part of industrial symbiosis processes that you are doing, let's say they are more with the material or even with the energy. Are they, or are you plan to do something with the water?
I don't have the. I think no, because we don't have like this. We are specific countries. We have the water resources, but just rivers, and we don't have, I think, like great space. But maybe there are some, but I am not sure about this. I know about this, which are localized like close to us, and about maybe some connected with this agriculture production, but I am not sure about the water.
Okay, thank you so much. And I have another question because I think we have a couple of minutes more. This one is for Gamze. I really like your final table of the different, let's say, comparison of the different model, but just let's say for one cluster, for example, a cluster manager that let's say it doesn't have so many experience, it's a junior one. Which of these different matrix or model you will suggest to start with?
Yeah, actually, I suggest with the easier one because it's the Mendelos, as I mentioned before, because it is there are two dimension in that method, which is the power and interest. So these two dimensions are still identical for the beginning of the projects for the stakeholders, and not this method is not too much complicated and complex. So for the beginning, yeah, Mandalov is suggestible for me actually, but yeah, depends on what you want. If you want to see the risks from the beginning, then we need to use the power and predictability metrics. But salience one is complex, so maybe from the beginning it's not useful. We will this for the salience model we need to go away to see the project and so on. Yeah, so maybe we start with the two dimension and then we continue with the detailed complex, and depends on the time of the project, and it depends on the because everything change in a year, in a 6 months. So yeah, can be changeable.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think there is no more question. We are out of time. So once again, I would like to thank you, Apostolos, Gamze, and Katarina for the nice presentation, for answering the question, and for all the information that you provide today. The presentation will be shared with everyone, also the recording. So once again, thank you for supporting the LIAISE action, and I wish you a good day, a good end of the week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amrina.
Bye
It's
bye.
a great action to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.